All right, and today on Tea with Trailblazers, we are joined by Heather Black, CEO, founder, and just extraordinary human of Supermoms. Welcome to the call, Heather.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. That's a lovely way. feel,
We
feel like,
can
oh, draw me on, draw me in myself.
we can just end here. It's
Oh, it's very sweet. No, it's lovely to be here, and hope I can provide a source of inspiration, knowledge, and insight into my Salesforce career and how we help people achieve their Salesforce careers too.
excellent. So, Heather and I have worked very hard to organize this call. This is our third or fourth attempt.
Mm.
Times Heather is in the United Kingdom, and I am in Canada. Um, And so just time zones and just illness and just all sorts of different things. But we are here. We made it. And so I wanted to. So actually, Heather, I think, reached out to me. I announced that I was doing this project, and we had a chat. And I'm really happy to just give her a platform to talk about her journey, but also to talk about Supermoms, which is her company. And so Heather, let's start off at the beginning. How did Salesforce get its way into your life?
Yeah, sure. So I was running a non-profit at the time called Striding Out, and I launched that as a social enterprise to help young people set up their own businesses, and in particular social enterprises actually. And I was 26 at the time, so I was quite young, and I thought, okay, I'm going to run networking events and deliver one-to-one coaching. And I was doing that at a time that there was quite a lot of momentum and support for young entrepreneurship in the UK. So after a couple of years of running it, we really built up steam. And in the space of 1 year, I went from me to 40 staff and went from 100K to 1.4 million turnover, delivering support to young people all over the UK. And I was like, wow, I need a system to manage this. And funnily enough, I'd sat with Salesforce because people had said, oh, you can get it free as a non-profit. And I'd sat with the link for like 2 or 3 years and not paid any attention to it because I'd never used a CRM before, ironically. So I was like, oh gosh, I better look at what this is and find out more. And I met with a Salesforce consultant, and he sort of taught me through it. And I met another non-profit, and they showed me how they used it for a similar sort of tracking service, understanding what they were doing with customers and what support they provided them with. And it blew my mind away. I was like, oh, okay, this is amazing. It's exactly what I needed. And I kind of throw myself into it. Being an entrepreneur, you kind of have to learn all bits of the business and do everything because it's kind of like you're bootstrapping a lot of the time. So I ended up doing the Salesforce admin course
Mm.
and fell in love with building the system. And the system helped me grow that organization, helped me monitor everything we were doing with young people, from sort of prospecting them through to supporting them, tracking everything we're doing and reporting back to funders around the support that we had delivered and the outcomes, how many people had set up businesses, how many people had landed jobs. And I went on to do my I did the advanced admin training and also consultancy skills training at the time. And it was, it was brilliant. Sort of, really transformed the organisation that I was running. We hit a bit of a point because the political landscape changed in the UK, and all the funding kind of dried up for
Mm.
what we were doing. So I was left sort of wondering, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I've got no money to run these services anymore. Young people won't pay for it themselves.
Sure.
And so that's when I had to pivot. And that's when I considered like other career options and looked at Salesforce as a career beyond that, really. So that's how I came across Salesforce and got my hands dirty. I was an accidental admin
Yeah.
alongside about 8 other jobs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's fascinating. There's I don't know if it'll be come out before or after yours, but I interviewed another woman who she's a nurse who became a real estate investor who sort of accidentally built her own real estate software in Salesforce, and now that's her job. It's just it's amazing to me. I always just find it fascinating how people um, go from progress. We don't. I don't know about you. Like when I was growing up, we were always told you will have, I forget what the number was. You'll have 9 different jobs in your life now. Like nobody does the
Yeah.
cradle to grave in a company anymore. And so it's just fascinating to hear how that progressed and just how Salesforce uh, gets its claws into us and just.
Yeah, well, we can do 5 or 6. I've done 5 or 6 different jobs in the Salesforce industry now as well. So you can't get bored, can you? Let's face it.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's just it. There's so much opportunity, and we'll get to why that's both good and bad. But so let's talk about Supermoms. What is it, and where did the idea for it come from?
Yeah. So that point where I was looking to pivot, um, I had obviously started using Salesforce, but I didn't know anything about the job roles within it. So the consultant that I've met sort of told me more. I looked into different job roles that people were doing, and I realized actually, because my business coaching background and running a business, a lot of my knowledge was transferable because it was about improving processes for organizations, looking at their KPIs, looking at their performance, and asking a lot of questions. And I love asking questions about business, right? It's what I did as a job. So I decided to pivot and become a Salesforce consultant and work freelance 3 days a week, earning about 60K. And I was wanting to move out of London. So we moved down to the seaside and I had my first child. So for the first couple of years, I worked as a freelance Salesforce consultant, earned well, and I realized at that point that other mothers could do this and that there was an opportunity to raise awareness. And because my background was what we call economic development, helping people launch businesses,
Mm,
start jobs, that was my background. It kind of was that really amazing sort of segue of Supermums would
mm,
enable me to do my past life as well as my future life. Like I can still do Salesforce stuff, but I can help other people get into the ecosystem. So it's part of my DNA, really, helping people into work. And I know what the secret ingredients are, if you like, to get somebody from A to Z. So I sat on the idea for a couple of years. It was actually, I launched Supermums when my first daughter was 4 years old, and I'd just given birth to my second daughter. I thought that was a great time to launch an idea, as you do. I think it must have been the hormones at the time. And so we launched Supermums at that point, and we had like 3 women on the first program because obviously it's the first time we've run it. People didn't know what it was going to be like. But now we've had over 800 go through the program, which is
wow.
amazing.
And that's over what period of time? 6 years or so?
November 16, we launched the first course. Yes,
Okay.
so we have smaller cohorts. It's very intense and packaged sort of provision.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're really proud. It's amazing. You feel like a proud mum of your students, right? Because you see where they've all gone and what they're doing now.
And so, I mean, it's like, so you've got the cohorts, you've got a podcast, you've got a blog, you've got all the things. It's how big is your team?
We've got over 20 in the team globally.
Wow.
So
Oh, all
yeah, and a lot of them are alumni. A lot of them write to me and say, "We love your course. We want to work for you." So we're very lucky in that we've got a very passionate team across recruitment and training services. So it's probably about a 50-50 split. We have about 50% of the team in the recruitment services where we place candidates in all level of roles, from admin to architects in across the USA and UK. And then our training services, because we deliver the admin, marketing cloud, and consultancy skills courses. And also, we've just launched an ambitious women mastermind course, which is predominantly coaching. So they are globally accessible courses, and we run them in different time zones, depending, so people can access them at different points. So yes, we've got a lot going on, and it's been lovely to build a team around me of people that want to work for me.
yeah, that's it says something. That's amazing. I'm also seeing that you are a certified NLP coach.
I
So
did that in
you could
2000.
be hypnotizing me right now, and I
I tried to do that with my daughter last night. Actually. Can I hypnotize you to get you into bed? And it didn't work, so I
oh,
failed miserably at that.
that would be I would buy that course if you ever figure that out. I would hypnotize your children to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things I wanted to mention was you very kindly pointed me to a blog you wrote because one of the things that viewers of this program will know, because obviously viewer, you have viewed all of my videos, um, is there's tremendous opportunity in the Salesforce world. Lots of jobs, very popular CRM, not enough admins to run it. Um, but then there are people who either because we over promote it or whatever think I go and get my one admin cert and income the job offers on LinkedIn, and it's not always quite that easy. So what are how do you well, I guess we'll talk in terms of super mums. Is there do they do a I don't know what the word would be. Do they do an internship, or how does that
Work
work?
experience. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So when I designed our program, my background has been helping people into work and
Mhm.
jobs since I left university. Actually, in 2000, I did my job was designing and evaluating employment support programs. So very well qualified to design a
Mhm.
program. And the problem is you can just do a training course and get a badge, but that doesn't give you enough to get your foot in the door quite often to get to get the job. So when I design the Supermums program, and it's something we advocate for anybody who's going to launch into the industry, is that you want to get work experience. But with the work experience, what we do at Supermums is we put you on a work experience project alongside an experienced Salesforce professional.
Okay.
So they can manage your workload, they can oversee your workload, they can give you a great reference. And so there's that element of it. The other recommendation we make and what we provide on our program is we give everybody a one-to-one mentor during their time of learning. And again, that person is there to say, let's have a look at what you've done, let's see if it's right. If you haven't got it, let's make sure you've got it. And so they quality assure their competencies. So having work experience that's quality assured, having somebody oversee, if you built something in a dev org, and been there to support you, which is what we do on our course, is they build out a whole dev org of a theoretical sort of case study. So you've got somebody there supporting you all the way and sort of checking everything and reinforcing those skill sets. So having the one-to-one mentor, doing the work experience, um, they provide the references, which are really important. The other thing that we also like to skill people up in is understanding what business analysis and agile project management is, like the softer professional skill sets that really go hand in hand. So you know what you're asking, you know how to build a flow, but actually there's a whole bit about analyzing what people need and want. And business analysis is very much being championed by Salesforce actually now as a key ingredient to your skill set. So it's understanding some of those softer skills that people need. And then it's kind of going further than that. So beyond the admin course, we say to people, okay, you've done that now, brilliant. It's very easy. I say easy, it's a little bit more work, but there's a very much of an overlap with the advanced admin and the app builder certification. So they're easy ones to get, and I call them like the hat trick, if you like. Like, get those additional certs on your CV, because if you're going to apply for a job as an admin, it's those hat trick of certifications that really qualify you to be an admin. And as I say, they're relatively the next quick wins to get.
Mhm.
And then from there, you can sort of plan your route and get more of a niche. So, service cloud or sales cloud or non-profit cloud, choose a product and really go to town on it. Because again, you learn the basics of those products in your admin cert, but going that one step deeper, all of these things is going to position you better for a job opportunity and put you head and shoulders above everybody else. So I push our admins to go further. I'm saying, people say, oh, I'm guaranteed to get a job. I'm like, no, you're not guaranteed to get a job, because it's competitive. You're going to have to, invest in all this learning, but we will set you up with these additional things like the one-to-one mentor and the work experience. You'll learn some of these consultancy skills, because the more that you have, one, you're more confident, you're more prepared, you can answer those questions at interview. That's sort of a rounded position to relaunch, I think, successfully.
Okay, excellent. I also see here number two, adding the consultancy skills. Are those sort of the part of the softer skills that you're talking about in terms of business analysis and things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those consultancy skills are so important if you are going to position yourself as a solo admin, or if you want to, be a freelance contractor, because that's what I did. The
Mm.
reason, I started off going, I've got my admin cert, and to be fair, Salesforce used to do a week-long consultancy skills course, so I'm glad I did that. They don't run that same course
Mm.
now, unfortunately, but it was brilliant. Um, But it's when I started doing projects as a freelance Salesforce consultant, I was like, I don't really know how to document things properly. And that led me on to doing it was a 4-week business analysis course that I did. So it was very thorough. But I was like, okay, now I know what I'm doing there. And then I went into a project and I was with a management team, and there was this person that was just a real stickler and just bringing the whole project down, was very negative about it all. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not used to knowing how to deal with people that aren't excited. Like, why would you be excited about Salesforce? And so that sort of led me to the change management piece. I was like, okay, didn't really know about change management as a discipline. And I did a week-long course around change management, and that blew me away. Like, that's my favorite topic, to be honest, is really understanding. I talk about the 3 E's. So I talk about how to engage, enthuse, and educate people on a Salesforce journey, because that is paramount, actually, to kind of bring everybody on that journey with you. And then I had another challenge on a project where they were like, their wish list was 100 things. And I'm like, so how do I say no to people? Like, how do I bring that into a manageable list and be able to negotiate that? And so that led me to agile project management. And I was like, oh, okay, so I need to understand agile project management. So I stumbled across these disciplines because each of the projects had led me to a point of like, uh-oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. I need to learn it. So I collated all that knowledge, and having run a consultancy now, I sort of launched a Salesforce consultancy, which we grew to a team of 20 people, and I've overseen 700 projects during that time. And typically Salesforce projects will always go wrong because these disciplines haven't been followed. And so I have condensed all my knowledge, my training and learning, and we run the Supermums Consultancy Skills course now. And I love teaching people like all the mistakes that have been made, saying, these are the ways, make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. These are your checklists, your checks and balances to do during the project. And that's one of my favorite things to do every week now, is teach up and coming Salesforce consultants.
Nice. So you have a fairly large team, and what is your involvement in the cohorts? Are you actively involved in teaching material, or?
Good question. So we have the admin course, Marketing Cloud. So those two are pretty much that we have instructors that lead those, because they are Salesforce authorized training provision courses.
Okay.
And so some of my team run those, and I run the consultancy skills course, which I do every Tuesday, which is my favorite hour of the week. Don't tell my team that, but no, I do really enjoy teaching. And then we have our Ambitious Women Mastermind coaching. So I do some coaching as well, which is all about how to land the jobs, and how to sort of get out there, because I love encouraging women to progress, one, to get their first job, but also to keep going and sort of supporting them on that journey. So so I do love sort of having that interaction with the alumni as much as possible.
Awesome. So I should tell, for those watching, I'll put a link to this blog post in the description down there, maybe down there. So number 3 is, you say, to niche your product knowledge.
Yes. So my niche, I think it could be industry related or product related. So my background was working in a non-profit, and I had done a lot of work working with non-profits, because I was helping social enterprises in my business coaching role. So when I became a Salesforce freelance consultant, I focused on helping non-profits, and hence why that enabled me to grow a consultancy around me, where we supported 350 non-profits on about 700 projects. And so I created a niche, and I hired people for my company that had a non-profit background. The reason for that is they could talk the industry talk, they could talk the jargon, and people would come to our consultancy and buy from us because we spoke the right message and we understood what fundraising was and what volunteering was. And that's very similar for other Salesforce consultancies as well. Salesforce consultancies want to hire people with industry knowledge and expertise. So Salesforce is aligning them with what we call the industry verticals, which you'll find on the Salesforce website, but that's media or automation or health or nonprofit. And so I always say to our supermum trainees when they are looking for that first job, I say go for an end customer or a Salesforce consultancy that aligns with your industry knowledge and background. Now, that might be automotive, tourism, or whatever it is, or retail, for example. Or it might be that you've been part of a sales team or service team, because obviously they can transcend any, industry. But focus on your niche and find if you can talk the language of that product or industry, it's going to make your first job a lot easier because you're only learning one thing. You're not trying to learn a new industry and learning Salesforce at the same time. You're just learning Salesforce, but you can talk the industry speak.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, very important. It can be hard enough sometimes to translate user requirements into something we can make actionable in Salesforce. Never mind if we get lost in translation between terms that we don't understand that are specific to an industry. So that's helpful. And number four is
Yeah.
ask for references.
Yeah, exactly. So the ask for references, for us, we say with our Supermums trainees, they get 3 references when they go through our program. So that would be the training instructor who can give them a reference because they can oversee their training and that they've completed everything and say, they've been a diligent student, etc. The second is having that one-to-one mentor that oversees the quality of your work and building out a dev org and, has trained you. The third reference is where you've got that work experience and somebody again is overseeing your work. So you want to be getting those references, quality references, getting them to put that on your LinkedIn profile. Once it's on your LinkedIn profile, you can copy and paste and put on your CV. And that's going to really benefit you for going for that first job interview because it's somebody who can vet your quality of your work.
Excellent. And then finally, this might be something I wonder if people find this a bit intimidating, is work with a recruiter.
Mm. But it shouldn't be intimidating, right? It's the opposite because people can really be shy about selling themselves. Whereas if you've got a recruiter working for you, they're selling you for you. So they're kind of doing the hard work. Because with supermums, we sometimes have people that have not worked for 8 or 9 years or 13 years in some cases. So obviously going to an interview is really nerve-wracking, never mind sort of putting themselves forward. So if you work with a great recruiter, a recruiter should be doing a lot of pre-work with you. They should be going through your CV, helping make sure you've got all the transferable skills on there, that you formatted it correctly. They should then be talking about, okay, well, let's talk about how we sell you into this company. They should be pitching you in there. And then they'll also be prepping you for the interview and making sure that everything, you kind of know all the, as much as possible before the interview and prep for it. The alternative to that is that you're applying to a company that you know nothing about, you don't really know what the role is about, you're sending a blanket CV. Half the time when I've had CVs come through, there's no personalised covering letter, and there's nothing worse than a covering letter that really has no passion or not tailored or personalised to your company or why they want to work for you. It's just blanket, and that just turns people off. So you hear criticism, rightly or wrongly. Well, I've sent my CV off to 40 companies and I've never heard back. Obviously I don't know the quality of what those, covering letter or CVs have been like, but I would hope that if you've sent a very tailored CV and covering letter and you've addressed it personally to a senior representative, preferably a delivery manager or somebody, not just HR, that you've sent it to somebody in the Salesforce team, they'd bite your hand off, quite frankly, because I know that people that approach me directly, not via a recruiter, but sent me a very personalised message, sent it to me directly, I'd be on the phone straight away because I'm thinking I don't need to pay a recruitment fee. I've got somebody who's really interested in working for me. So, if you're not going to work with a recruiter, that's what you need to do to kind of land a job separately. Whereas if you're just applying for jobs and it's blanket and it's impersonal, whatever, you're one of many. So where I had a job that was out the other week, we had 1,000 hits on the web page. I had 40 CVs. But so many of those were just blanket CVs and covering letters. And yeah, it was interesting, like to see the process that you're subjected to as a hirer again. But yeah, so I think work with a recruiter where possible. If you're not going to work with a recruiter, that's what you would need to do to really be successful.
Right. Awesome. Well, that's excellent advice. Great advice. And I'm looking behind you and I see Goldie, and you are a golden hoodie recipient. When did you get your golden hoodie?
Oh, 3 years ago, I
Oh,
think it was the World Tour London just before lockdown.
okay.
So that was a really lovely surprise, to get that acknowledgement from Salesforce. And we'd been doing Super Mums for 3 years, I think, at that point. So they'd obviously been monitoring and seeing what we were doing and sort of building it up. So yeah, it was a real honour and privilege to get that. And I'm just a mum with an idea, trying to grow a business and make it successful. And it really helped sort of shine a light on what we were doing and attracted sponsors to come and support our mission and what we do. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, there's a massive outfit behind there and there's loads of funding. It's like, no, I'm just trying to run a small business.
Well,
Keep 20 people in jobs every month. um, we are a small outfit, but at the same time, we're all very passionate about what we do. And yes, we do charge training fees and we charge recruitment fees, but we're doing it with a view that it makes us sustainable. It funds a service that we provide. We do offer discounted rates to normal commercial providers. Um, so it was really, a great opportunity. Salesforce certainly supported in terms of raising our awareness and profile. So yeah, it's nice to somebody to give you a pat on the back as well, because when you run your own business, nobody does that, right?
mm,
You've got no manager telling you you've done a good job.
right.
So it's nice to get a bit of sort of that pat on the back as well.
Well, I just love the thing I love about your story is how you've there's a thread that runs seems to run through your entire working career, or most of it is this piece of helping people find jobs, empowering people, and you've followed your own advice. You found your niche of helping moms get back into the workforce, and because I know for a lot of people that's something they really worry about is in our case, my wife, she was only supposed to stay home for 5 years, and that ended up being almost 9 years. And I know a lot of, at least moms that I know, they worry about going back because they worry about their training being out of date, their education, and so this is just, I think this is a fabulous. What a fabulous thing you've built, and yeah, you should be really proud of yourself. It's amazing. Um,
Thank you.
where can people find you? Where can people find Supermoms if they want to find out more about what you do and maybe take advantage of your service?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So our website is www.supermums.org. So you can find out more about our different training and recruitment services on there if we can help you. And I'm most active on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to follow me and connect with me, I'd love to find out more about you and how we can help you. So you can find me on Heather Black at on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. And we'll put links to these things in the description. Also, for the Canadian and American viewers, it's Supermoms with a U in the mum.
Good
If you
point. Yeah.
I just checked. If you go to supermoms with an O.com, it's a restaurant. So, so don't
But
be
we are
confused.
definitely active in the USA and Canada as well.
Yes.
Like 50% of our audience and our trainees come from the USA and
Fantastic.
Canada. And so there's always an internal competition each week as to which side of the pond's gonna can do the best marketing wise. But we have a team over in those time zones as well as here. So absolutely open to everybody to engage with and work with us.
Well, Heather, I'm so grateful that you reached out to be on the program. Really, this has been a lot of fun. Love learning more about you and your journey and your insights. You're just doing. I don't know. I'm very impressed. Like, it's just so cool to watch people transition and build on what they already know and just changing the world. So, thanks so much for coming, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.